short thought on this week's parasha, this past week's parasha, and regarding Yutet Kislev. Yutet Kislev is the embodiment of the intention of the Baal Shem Tov to have his mayanot spread forth. As he said, he had a vision at night, and he went to the chamber of the Melech HaMashiach, which told him he answered him to the question, when are you going to arrive? As in, when is Mashiach going to come? And he says, when your well springs are going to be spread forth. So the diuk here is that at what point in time did that take place? At what point in time did that begin? That process that started with Yutet Kislev, with Admor Zaken being released from prison. Now, being released from prison is not just because he had a felony and then he's being released. Rather, it was an act of God. And the primary reason was because his work was dangerous and his work was receiving, pushback from on high. And therefore, it was received a pushback below too. Why was it received a pushback? Because, not everything should be exposed. The Torah has deepest parts of the Torah at that time was under the assumption it shouldn't be exposed. And he was the driving force of exposing all areas of the Torah. More so, he was exposing it in a way that just did exactly that. It took the most areas, the deepest areas of the Torah, and not only did it expose them, but it also allowed it to be able to be formulated and understood and analyzed, just as you were understanding something physical. So that was something that there was no precedent to it. So, and the reason, and more so, it affects all areas of one's being. The way that Admor can expose these secrets, Torah affected all areas of one's life, all areas of one, meaning, and that is what's in the defining goal that was given from the Melech HaMashiach to the Baal Shem Tov, and which was accomplished through the Admor Zaken. You could see, he says, very interesting wording, he says that he wants the wellspring, meaning the source, the inspiration, the actual wellspring to be found in chutza, in every foreign area. And more so, and also in those areas, it's going to be yafutzu. That means it's going to spread forth. It won't be able to be contained. And we find this in four areas, primarily four areas. Area number one is within the Torah, like we spoke earlier, that primarily prior to the Torah, prior to the Baal Shem Tov, the Admor Zaken, even if you had a big mekubal, a big tzaddik that was learning the nistar, he was compartmentalized. That means that his Torah of Nigla and his Torah of Nistar didn't have a spillover effect. However, came in the time of the Admor Zaken, and he brought it that the Nigla and the Nistar were fused together. That means that the Nistar took on more than just being learned by Yechidei Skula, but also made it that it is something that you're able to see in many different avenues within the Nigla as well. So regarding the neshama, the one's emunah was always there, but there was always some form of a cryptic thing. Now, through the Chassidut, they gave us tools and words and ways to understand what is the emunah, why we believe, and without diminishing and without trying to rationalize it. He gave us the tools to fully appreciate what is it that's going on in ourselves with this emunah. So it took something cryptic and gave it words and gave us tools to be able to understand it without losing its intensity. And so regarding the world as we know it looks as nature, but through the Chassidut, we're able to point and we're able to re-examine and re-see things and see the areas of parts of Kadosh Baruch Hu that seemingly they are beyond just is the basic mundane description as him as a Borei Olam, as one that creates something, but rather the Kadosh Baruch Hu as he is, where he is prior to just that, and prior to the creation of the world. And that too is being seen and visited and experienced in this world. And that is also this idea of taking the wellspring and putting it in the foreign space. This ties into the parasha that we find, by Yaakov when he was Vivatei Yaakov levado, he was left alone. And there's two possible explanations why did he go back. Either he went back for a small jug of something, which is insignificant, or he went back, the Midrash writes, it says of the Vado regarding Yaakov, it says the Vado regarding the Baal Shem Tov, and that's associating the two Levados, one about the Kadosh Baruch Hu that's referencing his highest levels and Yaakov. So seemingly it's a little bit of a polar opposites between did he go back for jugs of oil, or is this Levado is referring to the highest areas of Kadosh Baruch Hu and drawing a connection one from another. So too we have a similar question regarding the famous question. Anybody that is hesitant about learning the Chassidut says, well, what happened prior to generations that up until this point? Why is it something that's new? We don't like something that's new. And the answer that's given to them is too, well, because our generation is far more in need, far more sick, far more in the depths of the galut, far more than any other generation, and therefore, you got to use some shock medicine. Or what they say is that, well, the same way as Shabbat, prior to Shabbat, even though it's not Shabbat yet, there's a mitzvah to go ahead and eat the foods of the Shabbat. Why? You're still in a mundane, it's not Shabbat. Why are you eating? It's not associated to you. Well, because Shabbat is coming in, so you connect yourself, you prepare yourself by eating. So too, we find the same thing regarding now, Mashiach is going to come. At the time of Mashiach, it says, Yeshikin Nishikot Pihu, that we're going to be with the kiss of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, which is referring to receiving the Torah and the Har Sinai. We're going to be receiving, and Rashi over there says, we're going to be learning the deepest secrets of the Torah. So as a result, because we're at the threshold, so therefore we're doing what we would be doing in the times of Mashiach. Seemingly it's polar opposites. Either it's because we're deathly sick, or it's because we're standing at the cusp of the greatest revelation. And the answer is that is the very defining characters of when you're dealing with an etzem. The Admor Zaken, the way he brought all these attributes out to the open, all these things that we spoke out to the open, is because he revealed etzem pnimiyut Torah, the core. Now, with the core of something doesn't fit into a category, because it's the core of the very thing that you're describing. So therefore, it does not need to abide by a specific set of rules. And specifically, where is it most fully expressed is when it's most likely or most non-welcoming, because that shows that the reason it brought out is specifically because it's the core of the thing itself. Basically what that means is that if you want to know the core of something, you find it's expressed specifically where it's where it's most uninvited. So too regarding this whole idea of why we're learning the Chassidut, why we were given access to Chassidut only now, and the reason is because we're the most foreign to it now. We're not like eligible. We don't have the credentials. But because of that very reason that we don't have the credentials, and yet nevertheless we have access, that shows that it's a core area. We're not doing it because it's another quality, nice piece of the Torah. It's because the core part of the Torah, the core part of the community of the Torah is being fully brought out to the open, and therefore it brings out the full core. That is the reason why it's able to give us a newer way to analyze our emunah, because it's not another quality of our neshama. It's the core part of our neshama that's being expressed through it. That's the core part, and that is how we find also regarding Yaakov, when the core thing is being expressed, it's expressed in the most insignificant areas, but what it reflects to the core part of Kadosh Baruch Hu.